If you're new here, I married a woman, had a kid with a woman, divorced that same woman, and now I just found out that not only did I marry a woman, I married a sociopath who transitioned to a man. A sociopath. And guess what? I have had over 6 women come to me exposing Melissa/Melvin. They have all given me permission to discuss and to show screenshots, and I'm gonna do just that. I'm speaking to the type of person this is. I wasn't just in some unfortunate situation. This is a master manipulator. This is a abusive individual. And guess what? This may be a couple of parts, but you are going to want to sit here and listen to every single one of it. So let's get started. I'm posting this and then I'm going to add all the screenshots. So just stick with me. I have made a horizontal bar timeline of Melissa/Melvin's relationships. Oh, I bet you're wondering why I do this, right? Well, turns out all of the last, pretty much from 2017 to 2025, every relationship has overlapped. And I'm talking overlapped in marriages. How do I know that? I've talked to them. But we're going to start from the beginning of the timeline. And I'm going to tell you why. Because one of these women have come forward. And I think it's really interesting because not only have I been able to learn about past Melissa, I've also been able to learn that through every single relationship that they have been on, they were continuously hitting Katrina up, okay? Katrina was a high school ex that it appears Melvin cannot get over. And wait, what's even better is Melvin texted her today. That's literally has been texting her for 10 years. And let me go through some of these messages for you so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'll tell the story as I go. So, Katrina and Melvin, well, at the time, Melissa, were dating. It was more of an unserious type situation. But Melvin, around that high school time, was also dating a woman named Megan. Okay, so we're over here at this like 2005 to 2010 type situation. It's probably more like 08. And so I don't have super exact dates because it's been so long. So anyways, I've talked to Katrina and she divulged some information. So I have some screenshots. I'm going to explain them while also tagging them either here or here. I don't know, just look around. Feel free to pause. And this is how the story goes. Katrina reaches out to me and she is talking about my tattoo post. I came out, talked about the tattoos and how many women had them and how many tattoos that Melvin had. Well, Katrina happens to be one of the women that is tattooed on their arm, very large where you can see it. She sent to me, thank you, baby Jesus, I didn't, is where I start this message, and that was her saying, thank God she didn't get Melvin's name tatted. At the time, Melissa. Melissa gave me a key to her place in less than 6 months, wanted to marry me, etc. She was married once from what she told me. This was in our 20s, and then I found out she was married twice. This theme of marriage and who came forward or who knew about the marriages, let me tell you something. No one did. Some people knew about one girl. Some people knew about 2. Melvin told some people I was the only person they've married. And yes, I have multiple screenshots from not just the people in this chart, which by the way is 7 people. I also have screenshots from people that know Melvin personally and have met Melvin personally. So on top of that, so let me continue. Then she goes on to say that the whole entire time that you guys were married, Melissa was hitting me up and saying basically that Brittany has a problem with you, but I don't care. I'm going to talk to you anyway, because she knows at the end of the day, you're the only person that I would really want to be with, that I would leave her for, etc., etc. I'm going to put those here. Then she also told me this. She used to send pictures of my son to Katrina. And she was like kind of confused on why they were sending them. Basically, it seems like they've just kind of had like this loose friendship. You know, somebody that texts you every now and again and says, hey, are you still alive? So, of course, she talks about the fact that she had a child and Melissa was trying to act like they were the stepdad of this child. Why is this weird? Because Katrina, her child has another parent. She wanted to control me, wanted me to have no friends. Literally the same story as you. She always texts me every year on my birthday. And guess what? Today's my birthday and she texted me. Today. She also said that obviously it's disgusting that my child was being neglected, although Melvin tries to act as though, you know, they're this parent of the year, but they really only care about other people's kids. She also went to say that it's also crazy that Melissa transitioned to Melvin because Melissa was very against it and talked so much shit about people that were trans. But wait, it gets worse. She then proceeds to tell me that this other girl that she went to high school with, Megan, was being brutally beaten by Melvin / Melissa. The girl would come to school with black eyes. She was physically getting beat by Melissa Melvin at parties in front of people. She always had bruises and everyone knew where they came from. She was in high school and was being brutally beaten by Melissa / Melvin. So that's where this video goes really fast when you have a lot of information. But this speaks to the character of a man that I have had a child with. I'm just as shocked as y'all. I knew stuff, but I didn't know this. And let me tell you, that's one story. Guess what? I have the full second marriage story. The first wife disappeared. Nobody knows where she is. Obviously, the third marriage, being me, there was a woman that they dated before Taurus. And then on top of Taurus's relationship, started dating Caroline as well. So they text other people, texted the second wife and Katrina in 2023 to apologize and to told the second wife, you know, I fucked up. We should still be together. 2023, mind you, my divorce. That was also the time frame that they dated Maria. That's who I'll be calling Maria. This is sort of an ex-girlfriend. When they dated Taurus. Oh, it all comes together because guess what? All the lies are being told to everybody. And guess what? Melvin's still going around doing the same thing that they've always done. But this time, people are truly coming to me. And guess what? I'm gonna fucking tell it. Part 1 of Who the Did I Marry? First things first, I have to say that I talk kind of fast. The second thing is there are a lot of big red flags. I ignored them and I have to take accountability and responsibility for that because I obviously played a role in being where I am right now. Third thing is I'm going to refer to them as the pronoun as they were in the story. So it will drift and I will keep you on track. Don't you worry. July 2018, I meet a vegan, tattooed, love is light, positivity stud on Twitter. We exchanged numbers. And I basically let her know, like, hey, like, I'm just getting out of a relationship. I'm super, raw right now. And she's like, oh, it's no problem. Like, like just spreading all of this positivity. Now I'm going to call my ex, Melissa. Okay. Me and Melissa talking every day. I'm just trauma dumping on her, and she's just positivity. And even through all of that, she on the back end like, oh, what size ring do you wear? Do you ever think you could be married? Blah, 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 blah. Like all these different questions. And cool. I'm like, I'm vulnerable. I'm like open to it. I'm like, whatever. Then through that time frame, she tells me like, oh, by the way, I've previously been married. I'm like, oh, okay. Like we're almost 30. So in my head, I'm like, maybe that's normal. Don't get too much into the details except for the fact that the girl kind of like robbed her blind and ran away. Cool, got it. So I'm like, cool, we keep talking. So we sort of skim over that. And I decided that I was going to start looking into opportunities in Texas. Yes, you guessed it, Melissa lives in Texas. And it sort of made sense because I'm like, cool, I know her, I want to start over, so why not move to Texas? So I go and visit. I get there, and the vibes are off. Like, we are just not clicking, and I'm like asking questions like, am I doing something wrong? And she just keeps saying like, oh, you ain't never been in love before, so you probably not used to what it really feels like this is organic and this is how it should be, and you're used to honeymoon phases and that doesn't exist, that's not a thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I leave. In my head I'm like, maybe this is just like one of those awkward situations. I leave and get back to Florida, and she calls me on my phone. She's on the phone on FaceTime crying. Oh, I gotta tell you something. And I'm like, what? And she's like, the reason things were off is because like I'm married. And I'm like, yeah, like I knew that. Like, no, I'm in my second marriage. Okay. So now she's saying the reason that they got married was because the girl needed insurance. So she was like, oh, it was just supposed to be a short little 30-day annulment or whatever. And, we just ended up not going to court to get it fixed. Like, she don't even live here. I don't, whatever. I don't talk to her. Like, it's not even a real marriage. Like, we just did it for the papers. Boom. I bet you think the story is over, right? Because why would I stay with somebody that had 2 wives? Nope. Nope. Part 2, who did I marry? So you guessed it, she tells me that she's been now married a second time, one of whom she's divorced to and one who she's still married to, and I should run for the fucking hills. But no, I feel sorry for Melissa, because I'm like, your first girl robbed you and your second girl won't divorce you because what? Like, because now she's making these excuses on why their marriage is still continuing. So I'm like, whatever. My move was already planned. My company was already paying out for everything. So I'm like, cool, like, I'll worry about that later. Because in my head, I'm like, she's making it seem like it's just like this paperwork situation, not like she's like, oh, I'm in a loveless marriage and now I'm moving on or something. It's just like this random thing. Now we're in October of 2018 and I'm moving to Texas. The initial plan was to live with Melissa. But luckily I had like a lot of, my company had paid for me to stay in a hotel until I figured it out. And like Melissa's spot was too small. First off, it was too small because it was too small. Secondly, we were just not getting along. And to be fair, I was hungry. She was a vegan. I wasn't eating meat. I was not in a good spot. Okay. I couldn't live there. So we were getting into these huge arguments. And every time at the end of the argument, I'd be like, listen, I'm just moving out. Like, I didn't want to do this. Like, I was trying to get to escape, but like, I had felt like I had already committed. Like, I committed, I moved down here, I uprooted my life. Like, I'm trusting this positive vibe to somehow mend me. And that wasn't the case, so that was on me. So I tell Melissa I don't want to live there. Long story short, Melissa convinces me to get a townhome with her. Not to buy, but to rent, because her neighborhood had a townhome that we could live in. Cool. I'm like, fuck it. I'm tired of looking for this spot. We can have, if maybe more space will allot us a better relationship, whatever. I mean, it was just a lot. Cool. So we get the townhome. The movers are moving my stuff into the townhome, and I'm furnishing it. I'm going to the furniture store, and I'm furnishing it. Okay? Then she's giving me dates. She's like, oh, you need to have it furnished by this date because we're having a housewarming party. And I'm like, first off, I don't even know nobody down here in Texas. And secondly, okay, come with me to the store and pay for these couches. All right. So it's still my home. So I'm not going to sit on the floor or sit on a futon or whatever. Like, I have to get the stuff that I want. So I'm getting the stuff that needs to be in a house, like, lights and so on and so forth. And she plans this party. I don't know anybody. So this party starts, people showing up. I think I've only met one of her friends once or twice. One of them. It's a group of her friends. Y'all. She gets down on one knee and she proposes in December of 2018 in front of a group of strangers that I do not know, in a state that I am not from, in a house that I do not own. Welcome to part 3 of Who the Did I Marry? Yes, Melissa proposes. Yes, Melissa is still married. But I'll say this, the paperwork for her divorce had been filed at this point. And I know that because I helped file it. Because she's a self-taught dyslexic, or so she claims, Melissa oftentimes needs help with paperwork. So she proposes. And I just want to say we should normalize saying no in situations where we aren't sure. Because at this moment, I'm not sure. I'm like, I don't know if I want to marry her. But at this point, I'm in front of a group of strangers in a place, in a state that I'm not from. And I just felt like I had to say yes. Like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I can always dial this back. I can always tell her later that I don't want to be engaged, right? Damn it, Brittany. Why would you say yes? I know. I can't even explain some of the shit that I did, but, here we are. So, days move on. I start calling and telling people, because mind you, she hadn't contacted anybody from my side to say that she was proposing. So I called everybody that I, felt close with and was like, hey, like, I'm engaged. Everybody was like, nope. So basically, like, I'm going back and I'm telling Melissa, like, yeah, like, everybody, whatever. She's like, oh, you got to cut them off. They just don't like you. Your parents are mad that you're gay. Like, just telling me all this stuff. And, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's right. Like, all these people are saying no and, whatever. So I'm, like, cutting people off, friends and family. And the more people I cut off, the better Melissa is to me. I cut somebody off and she be like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you did that. And, you're such a strong person. So it's like, okay, like, I'm losing people, but I'm gaining strength in this shitty relationship. Now, previously, when we had discussed getting engaged and getting married and stuff like that, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, down the road, a year, or I'm not really sure, but she had said something to the effects of, like, if I get you a ring, I'm hoping you could get me a truck. At the time, she didn't have one. She had, like, a sedan. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like, a couple of years from now, like, or whatever, like, that's cool. I'll do that. So she proposed on December 6th, I think. And she was already looking for the truck. Whereas, like, within a week, she was like, this is the one that I want. Already. So I'm like, oh, like, she was dead ass for real. Like, if she proposed, like, this is her expectation. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like, I got something. It's like, I'm sort of just lost in the sauce right now. And I'm like, okay, like, I got something. So I should, in turn, follow through for what I said. So yeah, I end up signing for her trip. So, boom. Right after that, like, I haven't even got my ring resized or anything. She's like, let's start getting ready to have a baby. And I'm like, like, it's a lot happening real fast. And, like, in my head, of course, like, I want kids, but I wasn't expecting anything to be this fast. And I blame myself because I'm like, how did I just continuously see all of this in my face and just, like, allowed it? So I'm like, okay, I'm not really ready for kids. And she's like, listen, like, we're almost to our 30s. Like, we want that fulfillment. And you say that, like, you have, like, issues with, like, your mental health and all that stuff. Like, I feel like kids would just, like, really complete you. And, like, honestly, I got to a point where I was like, yeah, like, okay, like, I get that. At this point, we're going to the fertility clinic. And I'm using my insurance for the fertility clinic. I'm paying the deductible. I purchased the sperm. I furnished the house. I'm spending a lot of money, and, like, I'm also signed for her to get a truck. So at this point, like, I'm hemorrhaging money, but I'm not really realizing on the back end, like, how much money I'm actually spending. And in regards to money, like, it was no secret that I had, like, a really good corporate job. It was no secret that, like, my parents, were well off. So, like, the concept of pulling out my card, it just wasn't, like, foreign to me because I feel like it should be even. but like the hesitation of her doing it made me lead to have to do it. So we end up having 3 failures at the fertility clinic. And at that point, we decided to take a break. And I found out that I needed to have a surgery to remove a blockage in order to get pregnant. COVID happens. So at this point, everything shut down, shelter in place. And at this point, I feel trapped because we are arguing, we're not getting along, we don't have nothing in common. And I'm telling her every other day, like, I want to call this engagement off. But you call your engagement off and then you go in the next room and you have no choice but to stay there. And for me, I'm like, damn, like, I don't even know how to leave right now. And then I got to admit to everybody that I cut off, like, that I'm a fuck up. And so at this point, like, I'm going to her and I'm like, listen, like, we don't have nothing in common. And she's telling me, like, listen, this is like 90 Day Fiance. Like, we're getting to know each other. Like, real love doesn't just, it's not just this thing that you get along and all of this stuff. Like, she was making me feel like I was absolutely the worst person because I wasn't, like, loving her. And she's just acting like she's loving me and I don't know how to accept it. So throughout that time, like, just a lot of time and space, we ended up having like an explicit conversation, and we were looking through websites for some specific stuff, and she ends up sending me a website that was like for trans individuals. So I feel like sometimes when people want to say something to you, like, they'll send you like a little mixed message and expect for you to say something. So I gave it some time and I ended up going to her and I was like, hey, obviously before we decided to proceed with having a baby, like, you sent me this site and like I just want to check in with you and see, like, is this something that you like maybe haven't told me, like maybe you're open, like wanting to transition? Because for me, like, if you're wanting to transition, like, this is something you do before you have a child so you can focus on you becoming a comfortable version of yourself before bringing a child into it. Like, that would be something that I would prefer. So she's like, nope, would never do that, never had the urge, never felt like I would want to be a man. Like, it's just, I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, like, that just is what it is. It was very like, I'm telling you what it is and we don't need to talk about it anymore. Bet. I asked the question and then I was like, cool, we moving on. So I end up getting pregnant in July 2020, and pregnancy, that, like, I was really focused on being healthy. It wasn't too traumatic during the time of being pregnant. Around that January time frame, Melissa suggested that we get married. It's still kind of COVID, and obviously, like, I don't have any friends and I also don't have any family, so it's not like I'm gonna plan any type of anything. I also didn't have a baby shower or anything like that. And so, okay, justice of the peace in the courthouse in a mask, and I'm, at this point, six months pregnant. And it was just like really important that we got married. And then, like, she was really forcing, like, changing my last name. And, like, honestly, I feel pretty strongly I want to keep my last name. Never been interested in that. But it was just, like, really, really trying. Now, looking back, it's like you was just trying to get stuff done before I had the baby. Okay, so I have the baby in May of 2021. And at this point, in the beginning, everything was pretty good. Like, when she was at home, like, she was helpful. But then COVID lifted and it was time for her to go back into work. And luckily for me, like, my job was still allowing me to work from home. And at this point, I have really bad postpartum. I don't feel comfortable taking my son into a daycare. So I'm working from home and I'm taking care of him. And anybody that's a stay-at-home mom, more power to you. I am so proud of you. That is a hard job. And what makes it even harder was the fact that I had to work. And I'm not talking like I'm sitting on a computer or something. Like, I have a corporate job where I'm expected to be on calls. I'm expected to do a lot of activity, and I'm like dealing with my baby, and he's like colicky, and I'm trying to understand his sleeping patterns. Like, it was very hard, and I'm like struggling. Like, I don't have a village. I'm doing this by myself, and it's just like really, really tough. Welcome to part 4 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off on the part that at this point COVID was lifting and I was still work from home with the baby, and she was physically going into work. Now, the type of job that I have, like, it's not like a job where you're like answering phones or have like a lot of solace. Like, I am expected to be on meetings 6 to 7 times a day. I have like a lot of data entry. It's a hard enough job without a kid. So with one, I was struggling, and then to mention that I also was dealing with postpartum, like, I was just not doing good. And Melissa knew this, and I was very open about like where I was with everything. And at some point, she was like, you know, what would it look like for you to just not work and just take care of the baby, since you don't, you know, want to take them to daycare and so on and so forth. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't imagine quitting a job without having another. And you know, she was like, well, I could take care of the household. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, you know, we're together, so I'm gonna make sure that that everything's taken care of. So she's working, and I'm a stay-at-home mom at this point, and she's piecemealing me money into the household. I mean, there was a point where like I said, I don't like to ask for things, but it's getting to a point where it's like, hey, like, I don't know if you noticed, but we need groceries, and you know, it's just like a lot of hesitation. So I'm still kind of paying for things using what I have. And at some point I'm like, fuck, I think we're struggling. Like, I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure we're struggling, because I feel like there's like not any money being poured into the household outside of like the direct bills. So I decide that it's time for me to start applying again. So at this point, Melissa decides that she wants to get into a more corporate role as well. So we had a discussion about like places that we would be willing to move to, and we landed on Austin just based off of like the area and like the companies that are here. So she ends up getting the corporate job that she wanted in Austin, and I end up getting and accepting an offer to a corporate job in Austin as well. So it's time to move, and at this point, both jobs have said that they were not going to give relocation until we started work in Austin. So we had to front the cost of relocation. So I asked Melissa what she got on the move, money-wise, and she was like, nothing. I was like, you don't have anything? She was like, nope, nothing. So I have to be in office in Austin in 2 weeks. So I end up deciding to get a loan to front the cost of the move, and then I'd pay the loan off with my sign-on bonus and my relocation when I got here. Cool. Her company offered a week in Austin to be able to find a place to live, and you know, to find childcare and all of that stuff. So we head down to Austin for a week to be able to find a place. So one of the first few places that we saw, we liked. So I was like, cool, let's put in an application, like this is the spot that I like. So we're waiting on that application to go through, and that whole entire week, she's actually working in office at her job, and I am going around and trying to find a daycare for my son. At this point, we have like 3 days left in Austin, and I still haven't decided on a school, but I at least knew roundabout what I wanted. So we're in the car headed to the school that I thought would be the one, and I get a call from the real estate agent, and she was like, the application is not being accepted. It's not being accepted. Like, somebody's score is too low. So I actually have like a full panic attack, like had Melissa pull over type shit, like I was infuriated from the inside, because now you didn't have the money for the move. I can't get into a spot in Austin. Like, this is crazy. So that night, I started applying to places by myself. And I'm telling Melissa, like, listen, I'm getting approved for spots. I'll just get on the lease. It'll be cool. Nah, she wasn't having that. No, we both need to be on the lease. We need to find a spot. And I'm like, no, like, it's just impossible. She was like, oh, there was a spot that's like more expensive in a different area, and like maybe we could talk to the guy and he'd be like willing. Everything is telling me not to put her on the lease. Everything. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever. I end up calling the guy. We visit the spot, and he was willing. But I would need to put down a $4,000 deposit. And I want to make it clear that I had to put down a $4,000 deposit. So at this point, the move has to be paid for. So the move-in truck, everything, the deposits have to be paid. I had to put down a payment into the school to save my son's spot. Like, this is not just some little coin. At this point, on the back end, I've started contacting the people that I cut off. I started contacting my friends. I started contacting my family. Like, I needed my village, because at this point, I realized that this was no longer something that I could, like, continue to maintain. Not by myself, at least. Like, I needed people. I needed people. So it's time to move officially, and we're packing things up. It's a lot to pack up, especially with a kid. And it was the day before the moving truck came, and she was like, listen, you know, I'll take the baby and the dog and I'll go ahead and go down to Austin and you could just be here with the movers in the morning or whatever. Anybody that's ever moved knows that like when the movers start picking stuff up, like there is so much that has to be packed. So I'm busting my ass that night. I'm packing basically by myself because she already left. That morning I'm packing up with the movers because there's so much stuff that hadn't been packed yet. I'm patching up holes on the wall. Like I am doing everything to make sure that we don't have to end up paying anything to the renters that we were renting from. So I'm getting everything situated. So the movers got the stuff. I'm headed to Austin. Melissa calls me and we get to a big argument because at this point, like, I'm just stressed and tired and I'm just like going off. I told Melissa, man, you might as well not even unpack your stuff. Like, I don't even want you there when I get there. And like, I was just done. Like, there was nothing, like, this was the moment that I realized that I could no longer be in a marriage with this person. This is awful. So I'm crying on the way to Austin. Like, I'm crying because I'm just overwhelmed. I'm stressed. And I'm calling all my family. Like, I'm calling my friends. And I'm just, like, telling them, I'm like, man, like, I have to apologize. Like, I fucked up. Like, whatever. So now we're in Austin. We're both working. The baby is in school. And we're just not doing good. At this point, I have already mentally broken up with her. Every argument was an excuse for me to tell her that I'm done with her. Period. So we moved in December of 2022, and at this point, it's like January, February. She ends up calling me one day, and she was like, you know, I think I want to defeminize. At this point, she was like getting into the gym and was like trying to be like really bulky. So she was like, I think I'm going to defeminize. And that was my first time ever hearing of something. So she said she already made an appointment. And then she calls me after the appointment and she's like, yeah, so like these are the changes, like voice changes, all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, like, are you transitioning? And she was like, no, like, I'm not going to be a he, him. And I'm like, okay, well, like, are you going to go by they? And she was like, no, like, I'm a she, her. I just want to have like a better body. You know, I want to just look better in the gym, so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, like, I can't stop anybody from doing nothing like that. So she starts that process. And like I said, mentally, I'm already done with this. And we've had some really bad arguments up until this point. It's probably like this February, March time frame. We having a bunch of terrible arguments, and one of these weekends she ends up deciding to go to Dallas, and this person has like a lot of facial tattoos already, and that was like something we had like specific places agreed upon, and they had asked me like before, like, oh, like, how would you feel about me getting more tattoos on my face? And I was like, don't do that. Like, you're already pushing it. Like, don't do that. She gets back from Dallas, brand new, ugly ass tattoo on her fucking face. Like, it was the ugliest thing I ever seen. And I was like, why would you do that? And I like went off on her. I was like, you don't care about me. You don't care about your son. Like, you look stupid. And at this point, like, I want a divorce. I don't want to be with you. And you could talk to other people. I could talk to other people. Let's just go. Or you can stay. And at this point, right, I have to be able to afford the place that we're living in. It's more expensive. So I'm like, listen, you can sleep in this room. I'll sleep in this room. We can watch the baby. And honestly, like, you could talk to who you want to talk to. Let's not be disrespectful and vice versa. Like, I don't want to participate in this anymore. So at this point, we've decided we could talk to other people, and either person was allowed to date. So things started getting really interesting. Welcome to part 5 of Who the Did I Marry? I left off on Melissa and I deciding that we would date other people. This was around the February-March 2023 time frame. So around May 2023, I met who is my current girlfriend, Ashley. And it was just a whirlwind, love at first sight, no red flags, soft life. And it's continued to be great. Anyways, so I had not at this point given any context to like my dating life. So I get home from this date with Ashley, and I get home pretty late, and Melissa had said something about it, but in my head I'm like, get out of my business, really. And then the next day, I happened to have a hickey, and they asked me about it. Not even gonna lie to you, I lied about it. I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's from. But, you know, what else? that next morning, I was in the baby's room. He's fussy. And I get a message from Melissa saying, hey, like, when are you coming out of the baby's room? And I was like, oh, I'll probably be out soon so I can cook breakfast, but I'm still trying to get him settled. And she was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll cook breakfast, I come out of the room about 6 or 7 minutes later, and she is going through my watch. And bruh, she is cutting the fuck up. She is cussing. She's calling me names. You a whore. You this, you that. Like going off. And so she's like storms out, got my watch with her, and she's just like irate. Prior to this, we had never gone through each other's things. Besides the point, she knew that I was dating. So this reaction to me was just like out of control. I remember calling Ashley and being like, yo, like this just happened, and like I'm shook. Like I don't know what to do. They were continuously calling my phone. Like they would call and I would answer, and they would like be screaming in my ear. Like, cause not only are they going through my messages with Ashley, they're going through my messages with my family, with my friends. Like they're going through all of my messages. So I'm feeling unsafe at this point. So I decided to book a hotel room for a couple of days. And yeah, like Ashley joined me. Like she was just a place of comfort. And also, like, not to mention, she was going through a divorce as well. So there was just a lot of things that were similar. So the week goes on, and I start getting these like crazy text messages from Melissa, like saying like, I need your ring. I need you to give me your ring. Like, I need to sell your ring. I need your ring. Like, it was continuous. It was constant. And in my head, I'm just like, what do you need in the ring for? Like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, I bought you a BMW, so I need to get it back on the lot. And I already took it off the lot, so I need the ring. I need the money. I need the money. So she's just going off. And I'm just like, what the F are you talking about? Like, you ain't buying no damn car. So another week goes by, and then Melissa, like at this point, like I'm back home, but not very often. It's sort of like work, get my son, separate myself. Like we're kind of just like missing each other on purpose. Melissa ends up asking me like, can I watch, the baby for the duration of the week, because they was going to go get some sticky socks. Now, I ain't no professional, but usually when you get those sticky socks, you are not allowed to have your phone. But for some reason, somebody texted me the whole entire time, to the point where I was like, where are you? Because I ain't never heard of no facility that allows this. Like, you're doing a lot. Like, how are you getting whatever help that you need and continuing to text me and asking me all these questions about, oh, is our whole life is a lie and blah, 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 blah. Like, go leave me alone. Go do what you need to do to get through what you need to get through. Like, leave me alone. Me and Ashley continue to date. And pretty much like the environment at home was just hostile. Like they were constantly making comments, like just saying things. Like it truly uncomfortable. And I had asked them a 100 times, like, hey, you can move out. Like I'll keep this lease. Like you could go do whatever you want to do, or vice versa. But like this is just not working for me. So now we're in July 2023. And I go in to the courthouse and file for divorce. I file without a lawyer. I just file your regular paper. I filed to do no financials, and I filed to have the custody schedule that me and her had discussed and agreed upon. Funny enough, I wasn't asking for child support or anything, like just to split school, and that is it. Y'all, this girl goes and gets a lawyer. So I get a response to the very easy divorce that I filed, and it was like, I was like, why would you get a lawyer? Like, there's nothing to fight about. And she was like, oh, well, you didn't mark out the child support line. And I'm like, you don't have to. Like, in the state of Texas, like, you get your custody, I get my custody. Like, it's even. So why would I mark out a state form, like, to please you? Like, what are you talking about? So at this point, I'm on my search for a lawyer. Now I want to pause the story for a second. And I want to add some information, and I need you to pay attention. Remember, I told you earlier in the video that my girlfriend Ashley at the time was also going through a divorce. Ashley's ex-wife Caroline filed for divorce in May. And in July, Caroline finds out that me and Ashley are dating. Now, if you think one ex is bad, imagine two. This portion is going to be interactive. Here you see me, and here is Ashley. We are girlfriends. Ashley is divorcing Caroline. Caroline has a sister named Kathy. I am divorcing Melissa. In July of 2023, Caroline and Kathy contact Melissa. They contact each other to swap information about the two of us to basically leverage their divorces and know more information. Now, I just want you guys to know, at this point, me in July 2023, me and Ashley do not know that Caroline, Kathy, and Melissa are communicating. We have no idea. We found this out later, and I'm going to tell you how we found it out, but that's probably going to be in like part 6. But at this point, it's August 2023. My lawyer sends documentation to Melissa, letting her know that she had 30 days to leave the house. Because within this time frame between basically July and August, it was just like absolutely horrendous. The household was just unbearable, and it just was no longer a good environment for my child. At this point, she's getting ready to move out. I offered to her a bedroom set. I offered a bedroom set for our son. I offered, a lot of stuff because I'm like, cool, you're clearly like starting over a little bit and I have everything. So if you need some stuff, like I don't mind, donating it. So she declines. Oh, I'm getting all new stuff. I don't need your stuff. Okay. Next thing you know, she starts selling everything out the house. Anything that she bought or any gift she's ever given me, she sold. I had a couch in the garage because I bought a new couch when I got to Austin. That was the couch that I bought in the townhome. She's selling that in the front yard. Didn't even know. Got home one day, couch getting loaded up. But at this point, I'm not tripping because you know what? At least you're leaving. At least we can get, hopefully, this paperwork situated. Now that there's some space, we can just go ahead and be done with this, right? This. Let me tell you about this. This is specific, and I'm going to tell you why. I failed to mention that in the beginning, when I first met Melissa, they continued to bring up getting each other's names tattooed. Now, the person I'm talking about, I already told you, super tattooed, and, so it was just like, it didn't even seem off base for them to ask something like that. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I guess, like, I could get somebody's name tattooed, like, especially if this is, like, somebody I want to be with. Like, we're in a day and age where you get a tattoo, you get it covered, whatever. But I had never had a name tattoo before, so I'm like, okay, like, this is a big deal. So fast forward. Long story short, we end up in a tattoo shop, okay? She says that she's going to get my name. I said that I'm going to get hers. And it was like, cool, we'll get them in red ink. But when we get there, she only claimed to have space for my initial, but not for my whole name. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, all right. And so I was like, I had already committed to getting the full name. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Here now, let's get her done. Like, it is what it is. And so I get it. And it ended up being, like, bigger than I wanted. I wasn't really happy with it. And, like, honestly, I just didn't feel good about it after it finished. Like, it didn't feel like this love and, like, warm, oh, my God, we just bonded in some way together. It kind of felt, like, weird. We get in the car, and I basically was like, damn, like, I'm really not happy. Like, I didn't expect it to be this big. And, like, at this point, I had put it in a place where I didn't have any other tattoos. So it was like kind of, you could see it, you know? And I was like, this wasn't really what I wanted. Like, especially now knowing that you wasn't going to get my full name. Like, it sort of just feels kind of like, I don't know. I don't feel good about it. I don't remember the exact conversation, but in this conversation in the car, she proceeds to tell me that multiple other women have gotten her name or a variation of it before. I kid you not. I get the tattoo in the same day, and right after in the car, she tells me that multiple other women have gotten her name or a variation of it. What in the cult? And like, what's even crazier is like, this isn't even a single crazy part of this story. This is nothing. But I really want you to remember it because it is a theme. It is a theme. It is a pattern. Hear me. Pay attention.